Court.
Or you've been called right.
You use the force. When you go into court completely unprepared.
Okay, the meeting of the Committee of the Whole will come to order. Let it show that all members of the council are present. First order of business is approval of the minutes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item D on the agenda, this is a charter ordinance number 24, increasing the total number of aldermanic districts and reducing the number of alderpersons per aldermanic district. I want to preface our discussion on this because I saw some misleading comments on social media regarding this proposal, indicating that this was something that Mayor Devine introduced, and something about him trying to gerrymander the districts. So I want to clarify this. This ordinance was introduced by Alderman Barzak.
Yes.
At the October 1st meeting of the Common Council. It's been before Administration and Finance at 2 different meetings, and it was referred to the Committee of the Whole so that all alder people could take part in it. Regarding the gerrymandering, I want to let the public know, and for those council members that weren't here for the 2000 census, that we do not act like the state. There are no politicians involved in the drawing up of the ward boundaries. It's done by staff with the lead of the city attorney's office in conjunction with the city clerk, planning department, and city administrator. So there is no politics, no elected officials are involved in it. They present the map to us for approval, period. That's it. So I just wanted to get, and that doesn't take place until after the census, and this wouldn't take place until the 2024 election. I just want to make sure that everybody understands all of that. Now, it's open for discussion.
Well, Alderman Lysak, I'd like to start since I'm the one that, yes, I did indeed introduce that. And I introduced it along with a raise in pay for alderpersons. The council, unanimous, I don't know if it was unanimous or not, but the council voted to eliminate the benefits and go to a half benefit, just like a half employee. So that would be the same, and eliminate the full-time benefits. So at that point, I felt that reducing that benefit level, some increase would be justified. And so I also introduced the increase. At that same time, I introduced the possibility of going from 10 districts to 7 to save roughly $9,000 per year. And over the course of time, that would be a little bit of savings to make up for the $3,000 per increase per alderperson. So that is where the history of it is. I know that there was a involuntary survey taken, and there's not a lot of love for the 7. My personal feeling is still go big or go home. Go with the 7. My feeling was that there would be all 7 alderpersons would be on every committee. There wouldn't be a split of committees, so they would be in tune to every single committee that was happening. I got the funny feeling that there's not a lot of support for that. So at that point, I would change my mind literally 180 and go to my old saying that I've used many, many, many times before. If it's not broke, don't fix it. The way it has been running has been extremely smooth. There's 5 aldermen per committee. The alderpersons are split. So if you're not on one committee, you're on the other. So your other counterpart is on the committees that you're not. Works out great. If we went down to 9 for the savings of $3,000, I think that the way it currently works has worked for I don't know how many years, but it sure has worked pretty well. So I'm at the point, it's go big or go home, or if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I think I'm leaning more toward the if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Mr. Chair.
Alderman Vitelli.
Alderman Barzak, I believe you have a lot of courage, to really reverse your initial move, I would like to say that, to compare, you start looking around in the area of, like, say, Milwaukee, which is a bigger city. The aldermen in Milwaukee, sure, they got a bigger district. They do have a big district. But they have actually an aide in making, I think, I don't know, 80,000 or more, plus all the good benefits. You know, and it's been working just as well in Milwaukee. You call or you email in West Allis an alderman, even though you got 2 of them per district, but at many times, people in West Allis, through the history of West Allis, they've been getting a response. You call in Milwaukee, even though they're full-time aldermen, you have a hard time to get a hold of them. That's the gospel truth. I even try myself just to make phone calls, just for fun of it. A secretary will answer, not the alderman. So the quality in West Allis that we have, I think the service, I think has been great. Since, I mean, I've been alderman prior, the city history since begun, you know, really. So that's why I'm glad Alderman Barzak has reversed his thought and his ideas, which I respect them just as well, but I would be, of course, opposing it, you know, so. Thank you, Alderman.
Alderman Shapulski.
I just want to add on to what Gary says about the current system. I mean, we have it, well, everything he said, plus if there's a constituent that doesn't like you, he can call the other alderman, you know, if he has a problem. And if, you know, you're the other alderman in the district, at least for a couple of months during the summer, people can call you.
I love it. I love it.
I wanted to know what was the whole purpose of doing it, and if it's to save money, you know, is the money being saved worth the people not getting proper representation?
But Mickey, I would like to say that before your departure, I always love work with you, you know?
I got a way to go.
Still make some-
Any,
Chair?
any other comments?
I think the committee assignments are important, that where you split them up, where Alderman Lysak's on one and I'm on the other. That's very helpful.
Any other comments by anyone? Alderman Weigel?
I'm gonna also say it was brave of Gary to introduce this. I actually support the idea of going down. And I think it's worth a discussion, you know, I'm glad we're hearing. The downside of the 2 people, especially since we're both running at the same time, you never really run against one person, you know. Newcomers are always running against 2 incumbents, and that's protects the incumbents, I believe, in the system, it does.
Yeah.
Also, I'm gonna say in the 18 years I've been here, the job has really changed. It's become less a service job of handling the problems of our citizens, and that's a tribute to the technology that we've embraced, you know. I'll be honest with you, most of the phone calls and direct emails I get are from people my age and older. Okay. And I don't know how many other people have noticed that, but all those little, you know, tall grass, barking dog, peeling paint things, we've got these systems in place now that handle that. Okay. Also, I don't want this to turn into a job that anybody can just get. I think you should kind of earn this. With that being said, when I came on, I didn't have any city government experience. I've been active in my community at various levels. But I think we want to keep active, engaged people at this table. And if you think about if we went the other way, hey, we should go to 15. Well, where are we gonna, you know, not that we're all special or anything, but it's a kind of job that requires a certain skill set, you know. I don't see a problem with every citizen not being represented directly on every committee. I think our staff is very responsive, and I think maybe it's the nature of the people that are here now. I think we're all very responsive to suggestions from each other, even if we're not representing the same people, you know. So I think it's worth a discussion. I guess I can kind of see, and let's go back to the committees. Do we really need 4 committees or 5 committees to run the city? I mean, there could be some consolidation and some streamlining, you know. I mean, but this would be the time, I mean, not necessarily this week, or even this year, But if we wanna look at changes, cause this opportunity comes once every 10 years
The
to
census.
do this.
Yeah.
And I do have a question, would we be changing the boundaries of the precincts actually, or just clumping them together differently into districts?
You'll be changing them completely, because you have to change them anyway with the census.
Well, not necessarily, but it's
Well,
likely, but not
it's likely.
required.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering how it would work out if it were there, so.
During the redistricting, all the wards are actually redrawn entirely, because there's such population shift when the census numbers come out, it's really difficult to actually have any wards remain in their same boundaries. And then as a result, whether there's either 5 districts, 7, 9 districts, whatever it turns out to be, then I would have to redraw those wards in a configuration that makes sense wherever the population shift occurred.
Yeah, and I can attest to that. I've represented various parts of the 2nd district in the past. I've represented a part of the 3rd district in the past. And I've represented, now represent part of the 1st district,
Yes.
Alderman Roten and I.
On the east end.
That was the 1st district previously. So the boundaries do change with censuses.
Especially with the apartments we've been building.
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
That's gonna make a big difference.
Yes, it is.
I don't know how full they're gonna be, right? I mean, they're starting the census this year.
Yeah, I don't know either, but
Yeah, well, whatever.
But-
I think it's worth a
Time.
discussion, you know, if only because we can't, it's gonna be another 10 years before we can have this, or someone can have this discussion.
I want to agree with Alderman Weigel. I think it's worth a discussion, too. I have no strong feelings one way or the other. I'm not concerned about only one representative per district. You have that in every other branch of government that we have. You have one county supervisor, one state assembly person, one state senator, one congressman,
Two senators.
two
US
national
senators.
senators.
Yeah,
State
yeah,
senators, you only have one.
Sorry for interrupting you, Tom. You were on a roll.
Our school board members.
Yeah.
Yes. But they're all at large. So you're not represented on every committee, on any of those levels of government. And here, you're not, you may be represented on every committee with a different alderperson, but when we have important issues, such as tonight, everybody's there. We make sure that if it's an important issue on finance committee, negotiations or whatever, all the council members have the ability to go there. We have things on safety and development or license committee, it's the same thing. We hold it so that all members can attend. So that's not an issue. I don't see that as being a problem. For routine items, it isn't a big deal. So I think it's worth discussion. I think there's some savings to be made. Obviously, everyone's district would shrink, be less constituents per alderperson, but you would be, again, not running against someone that you've been working with for the last whatever years, and it gives other people, I think, as Marty said, an easier opportunity to get elected. It's hard to get elected when there's 2 incumbents that are running in a district. So, I mean, it's just worth a discussion. It's not something we have to act on tonight. We don't have to act on it, in the next month or 2. I mean, this can be held over till the next council and discussed then too, and get input from the new alder people. As long as it's done before the census maps are redrawn, we're certainly able to do that.
Mr. Chairman, can I just ask when that is? When the maps, what date does this should be done by? Should be done by?
There's not a firm date, but generally the maps will have to be redrawn by the city in the early summer of 2021.
Oh, okay, so you got almost a whole nother.
Right, we got all
year and
next
a
year.
half. Okay, very good, thank you.
Alderman Maine?
Yeah, one of the things I do like about going to 9 and with 1 each is right now, well, I'm not going to compare it to now, but I think you'll understand where I'm going. You get more distribution of representation throughout the city as well. And I imagine it wouldn't be perfect, but 3 by 3. Right now, the way some of the districts are, I mean, we live real close to each other, just a few blocks, representing that big area.
Alderman Roten and
Fifth
I live
district's
close to each
all,
other.
you guys live close to each other. I'm not sure how close you two are, but I think it's pretty close. And then Mickey and Vince are probably the only ones who are opposite sides of the district. You might get better representation from within the city by splitting it up like that. Also make the job perhaps a little easier, I think.
Campaigning music.
Yeah, it'd make that easier too. But, so those are some of the pros that I see about going to 1 each. And then I would imagine 3 committees then coming out of that with 3 older people on each.
Mr. Chair?
I'm
One
the
more thing I
one.
wanted to add about how much the job has changed, at least how I've seen it. Again, it's shifted from being a service to the community to more like policy decisions. And I look forward to getting Municipality Magazine in the mail. I used to like governing when it came. I think there's a lot of things to learn when you're in this job, certainly more than I understood when I took it 18 years ago. And the plethora of information available on the web. I follow a bunch of website, Facebook page groups on city planning issues and all that stuff. And I think it maybe requires a little higher level of knowledge now than it might have quite some time ago, because it is less of a service job. And also, that being said, we have, I think we sometimes get described as like the board of directors, right? And the idea that we kind of steer the ship and we hire professionals who know their jobs, and our job is just to kind of oversee that. So I don't know that it takes 10 people to do that.
Right.
Any further
Yeah,
discussion?
Alderman Lysak, Alderman Marty, I would like to ask you, why turn into a service job really more?
Well, I'm saying it's less of a
Less.
service.
So it's a less
of a
service.
service job.
So why'd you classify it as a less of a,
Well, because so much of those citizen complaints
yeah?
are handled by our online system.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a percent, but still, don't you say, in my district, I always get emails, I mean, I get always
Well,
phone call.
I do also. I don't
I mean,
think I get.
so why is not less, I mean, I'm confused, why is less?
I'm saying I'm getting less today than I did 15 years ago.
Well, 15 years ago, maybe the people they used to maybe utilize the phone, maybe today, the people like in the 40, they use emails. So the call that I received mainly are people like, well, I should say my age, I'm still young yet,
It's all relative, right? It's all relative.
But really, so that's where I get my phone call. People in the 60, and 70, those people still
Yes,
call,
yes,
yeah.
So the way I look at it is, it's not just all depends, I believe, my own, how you really take the job. And I believe everyone in this room, when they get elected, they take the job because they want to do it. I mean, that's the way I see it. So by going with one alderman, I think we'll be adding some additional burden. And I think the representation for 60-some thousand people with reducing maybe the committees, or reduce the aldermen, to me, it's not something that, right now, we're talking about the savings of $10,000. It's not. We're not even saving $10,000, really. We're not. So, like Alderman Barzak said,
Yeah,
10,000 a person.
yeah, 10,000 a
10,000 a
person.
person,
Yeah,
that's 30,000 a year,
plus any benefits,
plus whatever benefits there might be.
retirement,
Yeah, yeah.
but.
anything
but-
else.
But the fact that it's not something that
No.
really puts something, jeopardize the budget, really, I mean, what the aldermen have done or can pay or some of the benefits have been incurred, which I think we've come to a point now which they've been reduced, those benefits. Is that correct?
Alderman Vitale, I guess I agree with Alderman Weigel quite a bit on this. I've seen the job change dramatically in the years I've been alderperson. Years ago, we used to get a lot of complaints, no emails because people didn't have email back then. About in the 1990s, I started getting emails, and it was on my personal email because I made that available because the city didn't have email back then. We were way behind times. That's changed. We've come up to, maybe not totally up to speed, but we're a lot more sophisticated than we were 10 or 15 years ago. And citizens have the ability to file their own complaints, and most do now. If you look at the amount of online complaints that BINS gets, Neighborhood Services, It's a lot. They aren't coming through aldermen, they're coming through directly. Now, yes, we all get complaints and we all turn in complaints from time to time, but my volume has gone down dramatically. However, the amount of meetings I attend because of the issues involved, they're a lot more complex today than they were years ago. You've got more complex negotiations, more state mandates, so many more things that we have to be aware of, state laws on licensing and special use permits and court rulings, what you can and what you can't do. And we're keeping the attorney's office busy all the time with questions on what is appropriate and what isn't. So the job has changed dramatically. It's not just a matter of coming in and voting on whether we should pave a street or not. It's a lot more complex than that today, and a lot more budgeting and looking for the future. We're a lot more involved than we were years ago, and rightfully so, as we should be. And the, you know, anybody that doesn't think that, you know, is wrong. Vince, I know you're a lot more involved in making, in the budget and making decisions in various committees. So the job is not just looking at neighborhood issues and problems.
Well, of course
That's
not.
part
Yes,
of it.
yeah. That's
But,
right.
but that part has shrunk a lot. Yeah, I mean, it is much more complicated than that today. And I think we all have to be aware of that. And it's a lot more time consuming than it was years ago. Any other comments?
I just have a few comments.
Sure. Alderman
This
Rankin.
afternoon, I decided I'd make a list of the pros and cons of our position. There were very little pros that I could find, other than saving money, which we are basically looking to save money. I think this was initially probably Alderman Barzak's reasoning somewhat for proposing it. If I'm not correct, please tell me, but I think that was the initial purpose of him changing it. I'm glad that he changed, he was changing his mind. It sounds like a little bit that he is taking a turn to keep what we have. I assume that, maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, so there were different things. Number one, we have to change the committee structure if we had only 7 aldermen. That I noted. Vacation time, that's a minimal reason, but vacation time, it's nice to know when I'm on vacation that Kevin will be available to answer any questions or concerns of our constituency. Actually, we are getting less phone calls. I would agree with Tom on that. More emails, but less phone calls. And also, I agree with that we have to be more knowledgeable about rules and regulations and that part of the puzzle, you might say. We are expected, I think, to attend more meetings than we've ever been as an alderperson. There's so much more to learn that I can see, and it helps to have someone, as Mickey has alluded to run things by. Some people don't prefer one alderman over the other. So it's nice to have this camaraderie of what Kevin, and I'm using you for an example, I'm sorry, Kevin, but there's things that he has proposed to me that I didn't always agree with, and I would give him my reasoning. He changes mine. The same thing with me. There's things that I have proposed to him about our district, and he would change my mind. There's a give and take among, if you have a good relationship anyway, and Kevin, I have to say, has been really a good partner. I praise him all the time because we have communication between us, and that is unbelievable at times I'm sure all of you agree with some aldermen. They're more communicative than others. But anyway, the ideas that we exchange, as I indicated, sometimes work and sometimes don't work. And also, we have to be more involved. We are expected to show up at grand openings. I mean, that's part of our job. That's how I look at it anyway. When we get the invitation from the mayor to attend a grand opening, you feel like you should be there. But I like the discussion. I think it's important that we discuss this in its entirety because this is a big change. As Alderman Barzak has said, if it's not broke, why are we fixing it? And we've always had this as far as I know. I don't even know when it began, but it does seem to be working for our city with the two aldermen. But if there's good arguments for the other side, that we go down and save money by eliminating a couple of the aldermen, it's doable, but is it wise? Is it wise? Are we really saving money in the long run with the service that we will provide? So that's what I came up with.
Any further discussion?
You know, for the last comments I'd like to make, one time I made a comment, I felt it, for me, was a joke, I said that for an alderman, they pay, and of course, with the benefits, but with the pay that we get it bi-weekly, I says, maybe I can buy 2 ties, really, that's what I said.
We buy those
Payment.
expensive
To me-
Italian
to me,
ties.
To me, I always look at it, the way I look at it is that that's a privileged job, that's a prestigious job to do your best for your district and for your community, for the city. That's the way I look at it. To me, the way we have been, it's been great. We always had a good, I think, with the previous alderperson that I worked with, always had good people to be with, and to me, I think it's been working great for the community here. And we're not talking about 15 alderperson, we try to cut down to 10, We talk about we got 10, and 10 for 60,000 population. The fact that is, again, I repeat, is not such factors on the budget. If you wanna look another issue, well, let's look other issue where we can save money, but I'm not gonna say anything right now. I'm done.
I have one question, Kale. This is a charter ordinance. How many votes does it take to pass a charter ordinance?
7.
7, okay,
That's a hard number. It's members elect, so it takes 7 votes no matter who's voting.
right. Okay. So if there's, it's obviously that there's not 7 votes here to pass this, and it's not, it's on the agenda, but I don't have the ordinance here before us. It's actually in Finance Committee, so I would say this should go back to Finance Committee and let Finance decide if they want to hold it, they want to act on it, whatever they want to do, but at least you've all had your chance to express your opinions, and Finance Committee has some idea of what the feeling of the council is on that item. Moving on, next item on the agenda is deliberating the repair replacement of the Public Works facility currently located at 6300 West McGee Avenue. Who's taking the lead on this?
Mr. Chair, this was an item that was put on the agenda. We were hoping to give a update on the progress of it. The issue is that there was no closed session language that was actually printed on the agenda and published. So,
Yeah, I mean, I was too. I thought, well,
unfortunately, I'm gonna have to ask the committee to schedule it for another time so that we can properly notice it and comply with open meetings laws.
okay. How much time do you think you'd need for that discussion?
I would say it could be done during a recess,
Recess meeting?
probably.
Okay, you want to schedule it for the next council meeting at recess?
Or do another 6 o'clock.
Or 6:30, is 6:30 enough?
6:30?
6:30 would be
6:30?
sufficient.
Yeah, either way, whatever works out.
Yeah, I guess I'd like 6:30 if I could.
Because then
because
everybody,
Yes, like, just like Gary said.
That would be the advantage of having only one set of committees.
right there.
And if I looked at the calendar correctly, the next meeting is St. Patrick's Day, and I know the mayor wants to get out early.
Wow.
Said it'd be a good idea.
We're gonna have green water that day.
Mr. Chair, on the item, I think we all got the same email from an employee who had just left, and did you note that one of his reasons, one of the things he didn't like about working for the city was the conditions
Yeah.
of where he went?
Yep.
And
Right.
we've talked about this before, it's an important factor for employees of where they work. It's not just about money and benefits and management, and those are all important things, obviously, but the workplace conditions are becoming more and more important, I think, for our employees.
Anything else come before the committee? Not, is there a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
All right. Seems though you two.